This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about inappropriate movies for 6-year-olds, reading George Bush's lips, and news about a reboot. All that and more as we watch Season 3, Episode 7 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. What's up, cousin listener? Hello, and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. I'm one of your hosts. Joining me every week, my sister, Sophia. What's up, sis?
Hello. Oh, my God, I'm freaking out. A lady on the street offered me a palm reading earlier for $5, and I was like, sure. And she told me that tonight I was going to talk to my brother into a microphone, it's coming true.
Wow, $5. That's a cheap one.
How did she know that?
You get what you pay for. For $5, I figured she'd be like, you are going to eventually go home and eat food. There's my prediction. Pay up. That's what you get for $5 with me. You had a prediction told, and the cousins are going to have some predictions on today's episode of Perfect Strangers. We are on Season 3, Episode 7, titled The Horn Blows at Midnight.
The horn blows at midnight.
Blows.
You know that. You know what that is, right?
It's got to be a reference.
It's the name of a Jack Benny film, which involved Benny playing an angel that had the task of blowing a trumpet at midnight to signal the end of Earth.
Interesting. In the TV guide, you would have read about the show. It said a psychic makes strange predictions about Larry's future, which start to come true. Oh, boy.
That's just like the palm reader. This episode, like every other, stars Bronson Pinchot and Mark Lynn Baker. We also have significant performance from Marianne and Jennifer, played by Rebecca Arthur and Melanie Wilson. And we've got our favorite Harriet Winslow, played by Jo Marie Payton-France. And we've got a couple guest appearances. Claire Hayden, the psychic herself, played by Brandis Kemp, and Harry Burns, an editor or something at the Chronicle, Eugene Roche.
Lance, give me that column, Mr. Burns. This episode aired November 4th, 1987.
All right, Act 1. Let's get into it. We're at the Chicago Chronicle at the opening of this act. We're in the basement. Balky is sorting letters and dancing around as he does. He's the jolliest male clerk ever.
Mail sorter.
And he's singing a song called The Letter, which was a classic by Jock Cocker, which is a fun name to say.
That's not correct. That's a typo. It's Joe Cocker. Sorry.
Who? Jock Cocker.
Yeah, that's funny that you read that. No,
all right, put that in the...
I typed it wrong. Yeah, no, that's going to stay in the show.
Joe Cocker.
Clearly, my sister is not a fan of classic rock and doesn't recognize a Joe Cocker song, The Letter. He also did the Beatles song
Joe Cocker.
With a little help from my friends. Joe Cocker.
Look, I'm just reading the notes, okay?
This is not the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Jock Cocker. Is that what happened? Your fingers are used to typing Jock?
Maybe. I also learned, listener, I can type anything in his notes and my sister will just read it. So I may have fun with that in the future. Stay tuned.
Not everything, just the references.
Joe Cocker saying The Letter, just to make it clear.
I did look at it for a moment and was like, that's not a name?
That's not right. Okay. I'm just going to go with it. All this is staying in. Anyways, where are we? We didn't even get into the show.
All right. Back up. Balky's dancing around, singing The Letter by Joe Cocker.
Wrote me a letter. Yeah.
Doing his fun, like, hip gyration Balky dance in the basement of the Chronicle. Larry and Harriet enter out of the elevator. Larry's like, I can't believe a paper like the Chronicle would publish the predictions of some 2-bit stargazer. Here's our setup. And Harriet's like, look, Claire Hayden is the world's greatest psychic. And Balky gets excited, saying he reads her predictions every day. And he says, I have an inquiring mind, you know.
That's a reference. Oh, my God, that's a good reference. It's a reference I remember. Of course, that is the classic slogan the commercial to the tabloid paper, The Inquirer. Inquiring minds want to know. And then their lady would be like, I want to know. I haven't. Remember those commercials? I totally remember those dumb commercials. Yep. Anyways, Larry tells Balky to stick around because he may get to meet her in person. And Balky's excited. He goes, "Get back, funky cat." Which I thought was a Elton John reference, but that's "Get Back, Honky Cat" from the song "Get Back."
Oh, maybe he just messed it up.
But I love "Get Back, Funky Cat." Harriet tells Larry that the psychic is with Mr. Burns right now, and Larry gets to drive her to the airport, and Balky is jealous. He goes, "Cousin, you're one lucky dude. You get to spend rush hour with a famous prophet." And Larry's like, "Balky, she's as much of a prophet as I am." And Balky goes, "Get out of the city. Get out of the city. You can tell the future." And Larry goes, "Balky, I can't tell the future, and neither can she." He accuses Claire Hayden of just getting paid to fly in, make a bunch of guesses, get paid, and then leave, and they'll print her nonsense. But Harriet goes, "Look, they're just guesses. They're pretty good. She predicted Sean Penn would do time." And Larry goes, "Well, anybody could have predicted that." Okay. This is actually an interesting reference. Do you get any of this at all? I remember this too.
I don't remember this. I mean, I know Sean Penn, but I don't remember.
So this is a rare bit of very topical humor. Sean Penn in the mid-'80s was married to Madonna, 1985 to 1989. And during this time, these two, especially Sean Penn, was known as like the bad boy of Hollywood. He was always getting in trouble. He was hard to work with. And in 1987, Sean Penn went to jail for 32 days for hitting an extra on the set of the movie.
So this is like such a weird thing to put in with this line.
It really is. It's like they don't really make these immediate topical references. Yeah. But it just, everyone knew at the time Sean Penn was trouble, and like that was his persona. And what's weird is he goes on to be like a really amazing Oscar-nominated winning actor, you know?
He had a temper.
Yeah. Well, he's young. He's married to Madonna. He's a wild, crazy guy.
So anyway, Larry still like doesn't get into this psychic stuff. So he scoffs and he's like, "I can't wait to see the newspaper tomorrow. This year, Claire Hayden predicts the earth will revolve around the sun." And Balky's like, "No, we'll be burned to a crisp." And then Larry and Harriet like look at each other, and Harriet's like, "He's your cousin, deal with it." And Larry explains, "Balky, the earth revolves around the sun every year." And Balky goes, "Oh, that's right. I always get mixed up on that point. On Mepos, they only teach science up through the Bronze Age."
Okay, this is an important little detail about the education system and the state of education on Mepos. I had to look up. Okay, I'm an idiot. I had to look up exactly when the Bronze Age was. He's talking prehistory, 330 BC to 1200 BC, like when the numbers went backwards.
But guess what? The Earth still revolved around the sun in the Bronze Age.
I wonder if they're all flat earthers
they didn't
on
know
Mepos.
about
You think they're flat earthers on Mepos because they didn't get the memo?
Maybe.
I don't know. And why the Bronze Age? Why stop there? Why not just do the next age? This is like early civilization, early writing age. Why stop there?
But an interesting little point about Mepos. But I also kind of don't like this line because they're making Mepos out to be this like backward place, which is like has been a joke the whole time. Yeah. But every other time it sort of like turns around and we see like some beautiful, smart thing about Meposian culture. But this one is just leaving it there like,
it's a balance.
Oh, we're dummies.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. But anyway.
Lump it. Yeah.
So anyway, enter Claire Hayden out of the elevator, and she's with Harry Burns, the editor. And Burns is like fed up with spending time with her. He pulls Larry aside. He's like, "I'll make this up to you, Appleton. I couldn't be with that woman another minute." So Larry's like, "I'll get her out of your hair." And he's like, "I'm just going to go grab the car." He goes to the garage. Then Burns turns to the psychic and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't drive you." He's like faking being polite. And he says, "See you next year." And she like holds his hand and like does a little like, facial twitch or whatever. And she's like,
the swoon.
The swoon. And she goes, "Yes, you will." And we hear like this magic psychic music over the scene. And Burns is like, "Ugh,
The look
and
on
he
his
leaves.
face as he runs away, and he's got his eyes are wide. He's eyes like this.
Like she
lady.
predicted that they will see
Jeez.
each other next year, but which was just so stupid.
Now it's Balky's turn. Of course, he's a fan, so he nervously approaches Claire, introduces himself, and he's getting the courage to ask her for an autograph. And she cuts him off. She goes, "You'd like my autograph?" And Balky's impressed. He goes, Wow, you are good. And she's like, no. Everybody wants an autograph. That's not a prediction. She takes the pad of paper from him. She says she needs a pen. Balky turns, grabs a pen off of Larry's desk, hands it to her. And then Balky starts to spell his name. He's like, it's B-A-L-K. But then again, she goes into another swoon and another trance-like state.
And we hear that music.
We hear the psychic flash. It's like the flashback music they used in other episodes.
Music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now she goes into her prediction. She says, I see a terrible storm. And Balky looks up and looks out and holds out his hand. He's like, no, there's no water. And then he goes, I see a man. And Balky looks out. And she goes, a small man. And then Balky looks down. He says he's eating a golden ring and sitting on a sheep. And Balky's he's just confused. He's staring at her. He's like, would you like a glass of water, a chair, an exorcist of some kind? And then she goes, a clock strikes midnight. And she sounds scared. She goes, there's a knock at the door. Who is it? Balky goes, I don't know. And she says, it's death. And she says, tonight, death will take this man away forever.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. And then just like that, she snaps out of it. And she goes, how do you spell your name?
So Balky's like, wait, you just said a bunch of things. And she explains that sometimes when she picks something up, she gets premonitions about the owners of that object. And then she hands the pen back to Balky. She's like, is this your pen?
Uh-oh.
And Balky, then it all sinks in. He gets it. It's not his pen. It was Cousin Larry's pen that he took from Cousin Larry's desk. And Claire Hayden says, well, I hope I predicted good things. It was nice meeting you. I got to go now. And then Larry walks in to tell her the car's ready. And she cuts him off and says, yes, I know, which is another cheesy, psychic line.
Yeah.
And then Larry looks at Balky. He's like, oh, there's my lucky pen. And he grabs the pen and he leaves. And Balky's like, what?
Oh, I love the audience reaction, too, when they realize when he goes, it's Cousin Larry's pen. That's not, the pen isn't lucky anymore, Larry.
So
Appleton.
basically, she has predicted Larry's death
is
that
coming
evening at midnight.
If he's after sitting on a sheep, eating a golden ring.
In a storm.
Fantastic.
Small man. Yes.
Listener, if you've watched these episodes and you want to get involved with our recaps and contribute your observations, there's a simple way to do it. Join our Facebook group, search for Dance of Joy Podcast Group, and that's where I post a thread every week about the episode we're recording. That way you can keep up with us as we record early because we like to have some in the can, as they say, as a little safety.
We are prepared.
We want to be prepared, and, crazy things happen. Even if we take a break a week, the shows will still come out. So leave your thoughts. Join the Facebook group. That's where you're going to find up-to-date postings, right?
And you might find other friends.
You will find
to discuss the episode
You'll
with.
definitely be surprised at how many people love Perfect Strangers as much as you do that you don't think do. That's what we found out,
Act 2. We are now later that evening at the apartment, and Balky's on the phone. He's got suitcases packed in front of him. He's got a jacket on, and he's trying to buy some plane tickets, but he's trying not to get ripped off. And we hear him say, read my lips. I want 2 plane tickets to a place where it doesn't rain and there are no sheep. And he's like emphasizing the words with his lips.
Even though he's on the
phone. He said, read my lips,
Yeah.
even though he's on the phone. And then we hear through the phone a loud click on the other end and a dial tone. Somebody just hung up.
Okay, so the joke here obviously is read my lips, and he's enunciating with his lips, but the guy can't see him, right? Obviously, That's the joke. But it made me think of something, and it made me wonder if the writers or Balky himself wasn't a little bit psychic, because when you say read my lips, my mind instantly goes to, I believe it was Dana Carvey on SNL doing George Bush Sr. in 1988, because the line was, read my lips, no new taxes. And then he would just make it so he would just flatten it out. He'd be read my lips, no new taxes. And it was the whole thing about 1,000 points of light. We're all coming together as one. Read my lip. That's and he did a comedy just repeat that. So, and that would happen like just next year that this show aired.
Interesting.
Right?
I wonder if "read my lips" was like just a phrase that a lot of people used back then.
No, it absolutely was, but it was a literal. It was like when like he was doing it in face to face when you're like, read my lips, I will not do this. But then George Bush just kept saying it and killed it, and now that's all I can think about.
And now it's a George Bush thing.
Now it's a George Bush thing. Absolutely.
Well, clearly the joke here is that he said, read my lips to someone on the telephone
lips.
who cannot read the lips. Anyway, okay, so Larry returns to the apartment from dropping off the psychic, and he's like, it was a nightmare. We had bumper to bumper traffic. Oh, by the way, she predicted Andy Williams will win an Oscar in the year 2025, and he scoffs again.
Okay, wait, pause here. A couple of reasons. First of all,
who is Andy Williams?
Andy Williams is the dude who sang Moon River. You know, Moon River.
Is it like ridiculous to expect that he'll win an Oscar?
Maybe the joke is that the singer is going to win an Oscar, that she got it wrong. Or that he
was already old in he's not alive right now, but that he was already old in 87.
That may be the joke, because he was pretty old. But then for them to reference the year 2025, which is just 4 years from now.
Yeah.
That's also wild. I'm like,
what are we talking about?
Oh my God. To them, that's like super future. It's 4 years from now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So that line was confusing.
Quick aside on that note. I saw a meme. I don't know if it's true. I didn't fact check it, but the Jetsons takes place in 2062, and George Jetson is meant to be 40 years old, which means he'll be born this year.
That's wild. Also, what happened? Dude, just typing out 2022 is really strange. I should be used to it by now, but I'm not. Like, this is future years when I was a kid. Where are the flying cars and all the cool stuff?
They're coming next year.
It's very disappointing, the future.
Okay, anyway, Larry's had it with this woman. He's still not into it. As he's talking to Balky brings the suitcases out to the hallway. He puts Larry's coat on Larry. Larry's still talking.
Yes.
He picks him up around the waist and walks him to the door as he does. Great physical comedy. Larry halts this by just sticking his hands out to the side and blocks his, he's holding him super straight around the waist. And he's like, where are we going? And Balky is trying to make up excuses, and he tells him that they won good news. We've won a free vacation, but we have to leave now. And he picks up Larry by the waist again, attempts to carry him out again, and Larry grabs onto the door again and pushes back. And he says, what free vacation? And Balky says, cousin, we've got to hit the road, Zach, on the road again, which of course the phrase is hit the road, Jack.
On the road again is a song. On the road again, that's a reference.
And then he tries to grab Larry again. He reaches down and grabs Larry's pant legs to make his legs walk to the door as he starts singing These Boots Were Made for Walking.
That's the second reference to the Nancy Sinatra song, too. I believe last season there was an episode to Nancy Sinatra.
Yeah, that's right.
I love how Balky is utilizing rule number 1 on how to get Larry Appleton to do things. You just pick him up and you take him.
Move him.
And unless he's not paying attention, he won't be able to stop you, except in this case, he did do the block. He did the block move twice. So Larry goes, look, I'm not going anywhere, Balky, until you tell me what's going on. He forces Balky to sit on the sofa and just talk. And he goes, Balky, I want the truth. Are you in some kind of trouble? If you are, I'll help you. And Balky's hemming and hawing and sing-songingly. He's like, I don't know how to tell you. And Larry's like, just say it. And Balky goes, well, it's bad news. And Larry goes, well, you just say it. Balky goes, well, it's very bad news. And Larry goes, how bad can it be? Okay, whatever it is, we'll deal with it together. Just say it. Just come right out and say it. And Balky goes, I found out you're going to die. And then an amazing Larry flip. This is so funny. He goes, oh my gosh, that's how you tell somebody? You just blurt it out? And he gets up and he starts to move towards the kitchen. He goes, and Balky goes, cousin, you told me to tell you. And Larry goes, well, you could have used a little tag. I love this flip-flop, or immediate flip-flop when he tells him. This reminded me of a really old joke, this bit. Do you know this joke?
All I can think of is the classic Bugs Bunny. Sorry, not Bugs Bunny. Yeah, Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd back and forth where he tricks him out.
No,
that kind of reminds me.
Here's the old joke this reminds me of. There's two brothers. They meet after a long time, right? And one brother goes to the other, "Hey, how's our dog Buster?" Well, the one brother's moved away, one's at home, and the brother at home goes, "Oh, Buster died like 3 years ago." And the other brother goes, "What? Oh my God, you just tell me like that?" And his brother's like, "I'm sorry, how did you want me to tell you?" He's like, you build up to it. You tell me Buster got out. He got on the roof. We couldn't get it down. We got Buster down. He hurt himself. We had to put him down. And the other brother's like, "You know what? You're right. I'm sorry. That was very bad of me. I understand." And the other guy, and his first brother goes, "That's okay. It's fine." He goes, "Oh, by the way, how's Mom?" And the brother answers, "She's on the roof. We can't get her down."
Can't get her down. Yeah, I know that joke.
It is an old, dumb joke.
But it was more drawn out than that. The brother's like, the first time I call, you tell me he's on the roof. Yeah. Can't get him down. Anyway, okay.
But that's a good punchline.
So now Larry's freaking out. Now Balky has Larry's attention. Larry's freaking out. He's like, "How did you find out? Was it my physical from 2 weeks ago? Did the doctor call?" And Balky's like, "I don't want to tell you." and he makes Larry, and Larry pushes him, and he makes Larry promise. He's like, "I'll tell you if you promise you won't make fun of me." And Larry promises, and then Balky takes his hand and he says, "Cousin, Miss Claire Hayden picked up your lucky pen and she went into a trance, and she said, and I quote, 'There will be a terrible storm, and at the stroke of midnight you will sit on a sheep and eat a golden ring, and then Mr. Death will come and take you away forever.'"
Oh my God.
And Balky puts his head on Larry's hand, and he's like sad and crying, and Larry starts to lose it, and he's laughing. He's laughing uncontrollably. Balky said, "You promised not to laugh." And Larry says, "I know you believe in this stuff, but really, Mr. Death, who's he look like? Jack Nicholson?" And Larry starts laughing real big, and Balky covers Larry's mouth to stop him from laughing. And he's mad because Larry's talking down to him.
Yes, as he does.
And Larry's like, "Think about it." And then Balky scrunches up his face to think. "She said there would be a terrible storm, right?" And then he takes Balky to the window. He opens the window.
There's a window
there. It's clear. Yeah. It's sunny. And he's like, "Look, there's not a cloud in the sky." And the weather report says nothing but sunshine for the next week. And he says, literally, this lady's predictions are absurd. And then just as he says that, we see a big flash of lightning. It goes dark outside the window. We hear a crash of thunder, and it begins to storm, and then wind in the window, and the cousins lean back in unison.
Their hair,
like a little slant back with wind blowing back their hair, and they're staring out the window. Around. It's a beautiful physical scene.
Yeah, it's so great. They do the lean back. Boy, Larry Appleton, you should not be testing fate. That's a sign right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. And then we black out to the end. That's the end of Act 2.
Oh, will Claire Hayden's predictions come true, listener? Stay tuned for Act 3. But first, I want to tell you about a way you can support the show if you've been enjoying Dance of Joy, if we've brought back nostalgia, if you're following along with us. Support the show, give back. Go to our website, danceofjoypod.com/support, and you can buy us a virtual coffee. We are drinking virtual coffees. It's a little virtual tip jar. And we have someone to thank this week, Sophia.
Who bought us coffee?
Bessie Split. Listener Bessie Split, thank you. She bought us 6 coffees.
Get out of the city.
That's 2 for me, you, and Rainey. 2 for us each. That's amazing.
Thank you so much, Bessie Split.
Bessie, thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. It means a lot. Be like Bessie, listener.
Be like Bessie.
Buy us some coffees. Visit the website. You will find the link.
Okay, moving on. Let's find out what happens. Act 3. Okay, we're still back. We're back with the cousins facing this storm outside their window. And Balky's like, "See, a storm." And Larry shuts the window, and they like lean back to standing straight.
Back to neutral.
Back to neutral in unison. And Balky's like, "Do you believe the predictions now?" And Larry is still scoffing. He says, "A little lightning, a little thunder, a little rain. It means nothing." And he looks back out the window, and then he's like, Oh, boy, that really came out of nowhere, didn't it?
It did come out of nowhere. So Balky grabs Larry by the shoulders and turns him. He goes, cousin, now do you believe Mr. Death is coming to get you? And Larry goes, I do. But if he's coming, I'd better change. He's still not taking this seriously. He walks away. He's making jokes about Death wearing black and if Mrs. Death will also be coming with him. And Balky's like, cousin, you shouldn't joke about Mr. Death. As Larry passes by the front door, there's a knock on the door. And Balky goes, he's early. But Larry's like, early? I like that in a Grim Reaper. And as Larry is approaching to open the door, Balky yells, no, cousin, no, and races towards the door. But Larry has opened the door. You see Jennifer and Marianne standing there, and Balky goes flying through them and slams against the door across the hall into the thing as the girls step in, all concerned for Larry.
So Balky had left them messages on their answering machine, and so they heard it, and they came over concerned. And Jennifer hugs Larry, and she says, oh, Larry, I can't believe it. And Marianne says, I didn't even know you were sick. And Jennifer says, there's so much we should have talked about. And she's like embracing him, so much we should have done. And then Larry's like, well, we still have a little time. He's like all into this now.
For a second, he was going to just go with it.
Yeah.
But he's a stand-up guy.
He is a stand-up guy. He has a conscience sometimes.
Yeah.
He tells Jennifer that he's not sick or dying, and the girls are confused. And then Balky comes back from the hallway where he had run and hit the wall.
He's holding his head still.
And he asks the girls to please try to talk some sense into cousin Larry. And Balky tells them at the stroke of midnight, Mr. Death is going to come for cousin Larry right after he sits on a sheep and eats a golden ring. And then Larry steps in to explain to them that Balky met Claire Hayden and she made some wild predictions. And Jennifer is sort of on Larry's side because she's like, oh, is that all this is?
Oh, and then Balky doesn't like that. He goes, is that all this is? Mr. Death is coming for cousin Larry, and that's what you say? Is that all this is? Is that all it is? Oh, God, do I have a headache? He's screaming himself into a headache. And he's just exasperated. He's like, what does it take to impress you people? And he goes and sits on the couch, and then Marianne comes over, sits next to him. She goes, I'm impressed. And Balky's like, finally, a rational person.
That's funny that he's calling Marianne the rational person.
She's the one rational person in the room. And Larry goes, look, there's an easy way to prove that this is just nonsense. I'll call Pioli's Pizza. We'll order some pizza. We'll wait till midnight. If Mr. Death shows up, he says, I'll admit I'm wrong. Good plan.
Okay, so we fade into the next scene, which is later that night, and it's still raining outside the window, storming, in fact. And they're having a little slumber party, the four of them. Jennifer and Larry are playing cards at the kitchen table, and in the back, Marianne and Balky are in the kitchen. And Balky has like a bowl, and he's whisking some liquid in the bowl, but he's whisking it with like a bunch of herbs.
Like parsley or cilantro or something, it looks like.
He's using the herbs in his hand to like whisk the liquid. Yeah. And Marianne looks at her watch and says it's 5 minutes till midnight. And then there's like thunder when she says that. And Balky starts whisking faster. And then in the foreground, Larry wins another round of gin. And he screams, gin, I am unbeatable. I should be doomed every night.
Oh, cocky
Feeling
Larry.
all cocky and And Balky, at that point, from back in the kitchen, flicks the greens, liquid from the greens at Larry, and Larry gets sprayed with these drops of liquid that apparently smell terrible. And Larry's like, ew, what is that? And Balky says, Meposian death repellent.
Oh, they have a
little dabble, do ya?
Wow.
And he flicks more on him.
Okay, first of all, they have a death repellent. That's handy if it works. And then a little dabble do ya. Great reference. I remember this too when I was a kid. Do you know that reference?
What is this from? I remember the phrase sounds familiar, but I don't remember exactly what it's from.
Brill Cream. It was the slogan for Brill Cream hair gel for men. It was just a little dab. This was back when, remember you used gel in your hair? I stopped that after high school. I used to use, you never used gel.
Did you use Brill Cream?
Not Brill Cream, but like I remember in high school, you had to have hair gel. Like that was the thing. Everybody's hair was like gelled and spiky. And now I think about it, I was like, why did we do that?
I don't know.
What
it was
that?
the 80s.
But Brill Cream.
It was the 80s and 90s.
It was the 90s. Real cream, a little dab will do you. That's their famous slogan. So
Little dab will do ya.
classic slogan.
So Larry's like, ew, this smells terrible. And he gets up and Becky explains that's how they think it works. It makes you smell so bad that Mr. Death don't want to get near you. And as he's saying this, he reacts to the smell himself.
And then Jennifer goes, it's working on me, and gets up and moves away. Larry can't catch a break with Jennifer. But Larry scoffs at this. He's like, death repellent? I can't believe grown people buy into such hocus pocus. Becky goes, we're running out of time. If we don't do something soon, Mr. Death is going to come in here and kick your bucket.
Kick your bucket.
So it's a modified
which actually
version.
makes sense.
Yeah.
If the phrase is to kick the bucket when
bucket.
you die,
Yeah.
if somebody else kicks your bucket,
it means you
they
die.
kill you.
And then, so it's a modified, he used it well, modified slogan. And then he turns to the window, all cocky, Larry, and announces, hey, here I am, Mr. Death. Come and get me. Just then, there's lightning and thunder, and he scurries back into the group all scared.
So
He's like,
Larry's starting to turn a little bit. And he says, look, it's almost midnight. I think I can get through. And we know Marianne's like the next 4 minutes without sitting on a sheep and eating a golden ring. And Jennifer says, all right, maybe he's right. And she suggests that they all have some coffee, they have something to eat, and they try to relax. And just as she says that, there's another crash of thunder and lightning, and she jumps and screams.
Everyone is on edge.
Everyone's
except
on edge.
for Larry Appleton, which is odd. He's trying to calm everyone down. He's like, why don't we just try to remain calm? He goes, all right, now it's just, Marianne goes, 3 minutes. 3 minutes till midnight. He goes, let's just sit down and not get crazy. I can't believe Larry is saying these words. Yeah. And then he pushes. He goes, I mean, come on, people. You look like you're going to somebody's funeral. Oops, I said the F word. He's trying to be all funny. And so Becky and Marianne sit on the couch. Larry follows, sitting down on the end. But he's clearly sat on something uncomfortable. And he reaches down underneath him. And what does he pull out? It's Dimitri.
A sheep.
And Becky instantly turns and looks and screams. He goes, you sat on a sheep. Mr. Death is probably on the stairs by now.
And now Larry's like starting to believe it a little.
He's freaking out.
He's like, it's not a sheep, it's a toy. Does that count? He's like, that doesn't count, does it? And Jennifer's behind him and she's got a box of donuts. That's going to be their snack with coffee. So Jennifer's like, I don't know. Becky, did she say it has to be a real sheep? And Balky's not even paying attention. He grabs Larry by the shoulder. He shakes him. He's like, why did you have to sit on Dimitri?
Really
why
violently.
didn't you get out of town while you had the chance? And Larry's like, Balky, you're going to kill me before Mr. Death gets here.
Balky calms down and Larry goes, so I sat on a sheep. He goes, one of Claire Hayden's predictions come true. Then we hear lightning and thunder and see the lightning and hear the thunder. He goes, all right, too. And then Larry, without even thinking of what he's doing, he reaches into the box of donuts Jennifer is holding and pulls out a golden ring donut and takes a bite. And Balky sees this and screams again. He goes, you ate a golden ring. Larry looks at the donut and he does a hilarious spit take immediately. Yeah. It's so good. And he starts choking as they start patting him on the back. But his spit take, it was so funny when he realizes he just ate a golden ring. Once he's choking and calms down, Balky's like, pats his face. He's like, okay, you're all right. You're all right. And then he immediately grabs him and shakes him and goes, why did you eat a golden ring? Now 3 of the predictions have come true. Marianne goes, 10 seconds till midnight. Larry's like, it's not a golden ring, it's a donut. And Balky's like, what color donut? And Marianne goes, 5 seconds. Larry goes, a golden donut. And he cries and he drops it.
Okay, so now we're seconds away, and
tense.
all 4 of them are standing in front of the couch, sort of huddled together in fear. And Marianne counts down the seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When she gets to 1, the lights go out in the apartment, and they all scream. And then the lights come back on, and they're all still standing and screaming. And then Balky finally goes, wait, it's after midnight now. And he looks at Larry. And he's like, are you dead? And Larry thinks a moment.
Think about it for a moment, yes.
He's like, no, I'm alive. And they all celebrate. They laugh. They try to relax. And Marianne's like, boy, nothing like a little terror to get your heart started. Jennifer says she's really glad that Larry's all right. And Larry moves in for a hug or a kiss. but she stops him because he still smells really bad from the death repellent, and she goes, "I'll see you tomorrow."
Oh my God! What another denied
Yikes.
again? Poor
She
Larry.
won't even kiss him.
He was.
When
they
he-
thought he was gonna die. This would have been
Right.
the perfect
That's
opportunity.
my theory. Like through this whole series, is that she's not really even into him because she's always a little standoffish.
If there was any time to go in for a first kiss, this was it. You thought he was gonna die. But meanwhile, Marianne, she says goodnight to Balky and she goes, "I had a wonderful evening, except for the screaming part." And she
and they leave.
So I love Marianne. She has fun wherever she is.
Right. So the girls leave. Balky and Larry sit on the couch, and Balky's like, "I just can't believe you're not dead." And Larry says it's coincidences like these that happen here tonight that cause primitive cultures to believe superstitions.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's just
primitive cultures.
Yeah.
That line would probably not have gotten written.
Ooh,
today.
yeah, not that way.
And Larry's like all cocky again. He's back to cocky Larry. He like gets up. He's on his way back to his bedroom. He's like, "We should get some sleep. We have to get up early tomorrow." And he looks at his watch and he's like, "And it's almost midnight."
What?
And they walk into their bedrooms. They both shut their doors. After a beat, both doors open again, and they come back to each other in the hallway. And Balky says, "Did you say almost midnight? Because didn't we just count down to midnight in the big scene?" And then they both realize that Marianne's watch must have been fast. And Larry's like, "Oh my God, let's call the time lady," which we'll talk about in a minute. And just as he says that, there's a knock at the door and they both freeze. And Balky says, "He's here."
Okay, there's two little things we got to discuss. The time lady, there was a phone number you could call for a long time with a female voice telling you the time in your time zone. That's all it was. It was,
nice.
Yeah. And actually the Naval Academy, there's still a number, U.S. Naval Academy, that you can call and get the time report. And it turns out a lot like elderly people still appreciate it and they use this. And then did you catch where the "he's here" is from?
I believe that's from Poltergeist. Yes. Now, what year did Poltergeist come out?
Oh, the first Poltergeist came out in 1982.
Okay, so it's been around in the culture for a little while.
Okay, so quick story about, I don't even know if you know this, Sophia. Quick story about Poltergeist. Our cousins took me to see Poltergeist in the theater when I was 6 years old. Did you know?
Who does that?
And I vividly remember being traumatized by this movie, and like certain scenes I remembered for the rest of my life. I don't know why our parents let them take me, why they thought it was a good idea to bring a 6-year-old to see Poltergeist. I don't know, but this is a thing that happened. So I love this movie.
I don't know. I think we just had messed up cousins or parents, because I remember my first theater movie being Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, which was like 1984, which would have made me about 4 years old.
That's not
who
appropriate.
Takes a 4-year-old to see Breakin' 2 in the theater?
I think that was a PG movie, but that's not appropriate either. But then the other interesting thing about the Poltergeist in this line, "he's here," is the line from the little girl, Heather O'Rourke, is "they're here," and she's staring at the static on the TV. Also traumatized me for static on TV for a long time still. Like, it's scary. When you see that fuzzy static, you're like, I can hear voices in this thing. Anyways, it gets creepier. There was a curse on the set of this movie and the subsequent sequels. Every time they would shoot this movie, weird things would happen. People would get hurt. In fact, young Heather O'Rourke, they put this in because the producers worked with her. She was on Happy Days. Cute. You remember the cute little blonde girl? She passed away 3 months later from when this show aired from complications caused by congenital intestinal stenosis, blockage of the intestines. But even her death was very mysterious and weird. And like, it was another thing they added on to the superstitious weird events that happened while making Poltergeist, which is a movie about, moving headstones and not the actual graves. and, spirits coming back and being mad. So I've always been fascinated with Poltergeist, and I still think it's a great movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow, that was a crazy tangent. Sorry about that.
Crazy tangent. Okay. Let's get back to the scene. Larry and Balky are panicking. It's midnight now. There's a knock at the door. And Larry has this idea. He's like, wait, why didn't I think of this before? We just don't answer the door.
Brilliant.
Mr. Death will think there's no one home, and he'll go away. And Balky says, cousin, it's Mr. Death, not the Avon lady. And then there's more knocking. It's more persistent, more frantic. They just stand there in fear, right? Yeah. And Balky has another idea. He says, I'll go to the door myself. Mr. Death will take me. I'll tell him I'm Larry Appleton.
Wow. Sacrifice.
And now he goes to the door, and now it's Larry trying to stop Balky from going out the door. Larry lunges at him, grabs him. Larry's grabbed Balky around the middle. And he's screaming like, no, there's no Larry Appleton here. No, he's yelling out the door. You've got the wrong address. Now we have this brilliant physical comedy because Balky's trying to go to the door and he's saying, Mr. Death. And Larry's trying to hold him back. And Balky gets his feet on the couch for a pivot and spin moves. They eventually land on the couch, twisted up. Larry's trying to stop him. Balky's trying to go so Larry's like Larry's upside down now on the couch underneath Balky, and he has his legs wrapped around Balky's head. And it's just this really funny scene, this really funny position. And the whole time there's been knocking at the door, and finally they're on the couch like tussling, and Larry's upside down with his legs around Balky's head, and the door just opens,
my God,
and
Mr.
it's
Death.
Jennifer.
Oh, it's not Mr. Death.
It's not Mr. Death, it's Jennifer. And they're in this incredibly embarrassing position. They stop arguing and they give her in unison as they do, hi.
You know what's funny? When she met them in the workout place, that was the same thing. They were in a compromising situation, and she walked up and they had to go, hi. So the amount of time she has caught them in weird positions is hilarious.
So she turns out she forgot her purse. She picks it up from the coffee table and she looks at them still frozen in this funny position on the couch. She's like, are you guys sure you're all right? And Larry's like, never better, really good. And she leaves.
I love this next part because they just kind of stay there for a while.
Yeah, they stay there. They have the next bit of the conversation in this tangled up, tussled position.
And Larry's like, it wasn't Mr. Death. Balky's like, no. And Larry goes, it was Jennifer. Balky goes, yes, it was. And Larry sighs and he goes, Mr. Death would have been less humiliating. And then Balky goes, far, far less humiliating.
Yep.
So then they finally untangle each other and they just sit quietly for a moment on the couch. And Larry realizes that Balky was really serious about taking his place. And Balky goes, well, it was only Jennifer. It didn't matter. But Larry goes, but you didn't know that. You thought it was Mr. Death. You would have really taken my place even though I made fun of you. Balky goes, yes, you did do that. And Larry goes, even though I talked down to you. Balky goes, well, you always do that. And then Larry goes, even though I laughed in your face. And Balky goes, now that hurt.
And then we hear the lesson time music. Lesson time music plays, and Larry says, I don't say this often enough, but I'm glad you're my cousin.
Aww.
And Balky says, I'm glad you're my cousin too. Well, that's not really a lesson. It's just them sort of like loving each other. And Larry's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. Balky agrees. He says, me neither. They're like, let's watch some TV. Maybe we'll get some sleep. They turn on the television and we hear the theme song to the Twilight Zone. And they turn off the television. They're like, that's enough for me. And roll credits.
Yay, fun episode. Listener.
Fun episode.
Before we do our comments, you should probably go to our TeePublic shop, danceofjoypod.com/shop. Get yourself a comfortable tank top for the summertime. It's going to be nice out, sister. People are going out. We have travel mugs. We have tote bags you can use. We have tank tops, T-shirts you can promote the show, help us out, and spread the word. danceofjoypod.com/shop. So really fun episode. Let's start right at the end there. I find that the Twilight Zone theme song
Yeah.
it back then was so ubiquitous that you didn't have to explain the joke. Did you recognize that? And do you think people, if you watch it now, will you still know? Because I knew instantly it was the Twilight Zone.
I definitely know it. I think people might still know it, but they might not know that it's Twilight Zone. It's just like become this eerie music thing. But there was like a reboot of the Twilight Zone
on Jordan Peele's on Apple TV Plus. Was it? I think I was watching it.
Does that
it's not
one
bad.
use the same music?
I think it does, but it's Apple TV Plus. I caught a couple of the first episodes. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But Twilight Zone classic. So, but overall, hilarious episode. The physical comedy, the timing. The silliness, it's all there.
Yeah, but okay, so it was a very good sort of like premise for and tool for all that, for good physical comedy, for timing, for like seeing the relationship between the characters. But like, what was it about?
It
like
wasn't
nothing.
about anything.
She made predictions that many of them came true, but then it didn't, and we never find out
so
like
why. She got
why
3
did
out of 4. 3 out of 4, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
but there's like no further resolution of the conflict, you know? Like
no, I know.
She made a prediction, and the end of it is like it just didn't happen.
Is she a hack or is she just like 75% good?
And then even the lesson at the end, like we don't get anything about like, because like one of them believes and one of them doesn't, and we never get back to like what's right about the prediction or not, and like he even implies that Balki's from a primitive culture that believes these things. In the end, the lesson is just that, I'm glad you're my cousin.
I'm glad you're my cousin. Great. Yeah, kind of weak lesson and weak overall. Like it wasn't about anything, but
as far as like tools for silly comedy tropes, it was
it's
great.
The comedy of coincidence is what's being played out here. And you're like, was it a coincidence or was she actually psychic? We'll never know. Great Dimitri appearance. I always love when he's part of the plot. And Larry sits on him fulfilling her prophecy. So I love when he's used as part of the plot is one of my favorite Dimitri appearances.
So he didn't have to have a costume this time.
Right, he didn't have to be hiding in the back.
It's just a sheep.
Great.
We have some fun Balkyisms. Get back, Funky Cat. We've got to hit the road, Zach. And Mr. Death is going to come in here and kick your bucket.
He did not say this.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
At all.
Oh, thank goodness we have a recording of it to get our quota.
He did say this.
Get out of the city!
And we got a wow.
And we have a classic Balky and Larry in unison going, hi.
Other running jokes. Of course, we see the Balky method of getting Appletons to do stuff is by picking him up. So he gets picked up and carried around again. And then that Balky, think about it. Joke. Yeah, that's been done before.
Where he scrunches up his face and thinks,
And then I already mentioned Jennifer walking in, finding the cousins in a compromising position.
Yeah,
happens all the time.
I'm surprised Jennifer is still in the picture, to be honest. Like, she doesn't seem interested at all.
You thought he was going to die, Jennifer. Give him a peck on the cheek.
And she still didn't give him a hug or a kiss.
But that was Balky's fault because he had Napoleon death repellent stench all over him.
Still, come on. How bad could that smell? Okay, we don't have Balky Dad's segment. I know.
you guys
We're
are sad.
Very sad about it. We miss Balky Dad.
He wasn't wearing anything particularly interesting. But if you caught our last episode, we have another thing we can share that's following along our show, and that is the Dimitri Sheep Instagram account. We still don't know who this person is, and we are still enamored and just totally intrigued by who is doing this.
Whoever you are, we adore you. Please keep doing it. So if you caught our episode last time, we explained that there is a new Instagram account called Dimitri Sheep, Dimitri, Sheep, all one word. And Dimitri Sheep is an Instagram account for Dimitri, and every post is themed to the episode.
It's amazing.
And so our post for this episode has Dimitri looking at a clock that's just about to strike midnight with one of those like palm khamsa things.
Is that
for
what
good luck.
that pattern? It's like a
two of them actually, two evil eye warder offer things.
Okay, it's a lot. I see that a lot in like yoga and new agey things.
That comes from, I believe, like the Mediterranean cultures, or like I first saw it in Morocco, but I don't know.
I thought it was like ancient Indian, Ayurvedic or something.
Well,
kind of thing.
Well, It's Eastern for sure.
Yeah.
And then we have a book,
Yeah.
The Immortalist.
Yeah.
Tell us what you know about The Immortalist.
So I had to look this up. I was not aware. This is a rather recent book that came out in 2018 by Chloe Benjamin is the author. And it's set in 1969 New York City's Lower East Side. And it's about the arrival of a mystical woman, a traveling psychic who claims to be able to tell anyone the day they will die. You know that internet death clock? Have you ever done that online?
No.
There's a thing where you put in your birthday and it'll tell you when you're going to die and how much time you have left.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's not
I'm sure it's
nice
completely
at all.
random. But so this lady has this ability to tell people she knows when they die.
in this book, The
So,
Immortalist
yeah.
by Chloe Benjamin.
Interesting.
So
It's
very,
fantastic.
very clever as
Fantastic.
always. Dimitri Sheep post for this
Again,
episode.
let's reiterate. This person has a Dimitri Streep. These are original composed photographs
Love
based
it.
on each episode, and the account is kind of up to where we are with
Yes.
the episode. So, Dimitri Sheep,
So
you're listening.
clever.
Let us know who you are. I'm dying to find out, or maybe we let the mystery play out. It's kind of interesting.
Well, I'd like to let the mystery play
Okay.
out. Whoever you are, we are digging it. We're so into your
Well done.
posts.
Yeah.
Very well done. Very clever. We love it. Please keep joining us for this journey through the next several
So
seasons.
look, every episode we'll have either our both Balky Dud segment, Dimitri Sheep segment. Done.
Dimitri
Boom.
Sheep. Okay. Now we have some shout outs.
Couple of shout outs from our listeners from our Facebook group where I mentioned I'm posting threads on the episode. So cousin Evelyn, her observation was Larry's shirt matches the Dance of Joy Rewatch podcast logo. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it does. And his
Colors.
the tie too. He's got the light blue with the pink tie, which it's kind of eerie, but I picked those colors because it reminded me of the 80s and kind of the vibe of the logo and the colors that they wore. But I made this logo without actually watching a lot of
That
episodes.
is crazy. That is a wild coincidence.
That is an amazing coincidence. I love it.
We also have a shout out for Cousin John from Colorado. Cousin John writes, funny that the lesson is Larry should trust Balky more and not that Balky shouldn't believe in this psychic.
That should have been the
Exactly.
lesson.
This is what we're talking about. There wasn't like a resolution or they didn't address.
Larry should have been now,
Point.
Balky. What have we learned about psychics?
Yes.
But it's a great point, Cousin John, by Cousin John, because that would have been a great lesson. We should rewrite these.
Yes.
So, okay, speaking of rewriting
Speaking
these.
of rewriting
So
these.
you'll notice we're skipping the PS Today segment because we have something fun to talk about. Sister.
Speaking of Perfect Strangers today, many of you, especially the diehard fans of Public Strangers, might have seen a little item in the news this week about a reboot of Perfect Strangers coming to HBO Max.
There we go. Headline from the Hollywood Reporter from June 14th, 2021. Robin Thede, London Hughes to star in Perfect Strangers reboot for HBO Max. The multi-camera comedy, which is currently in the development stages, revolves around Perfect Strangers Deja, played by Thede, and Poppy, played by Hughes, who unexpectedly discover that they are half-sisters when they both inherit a one-bedroom apartment above a trap yoga studio
I love that.
in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. Polar opposites. They must learn how to live and work together. Okay, there's a
so
lot
this
to
is
unpack
a
here.
one paragraph, one sentence, two sentence summary. I have so many questions. It does not say here if one of them will be a foreigner from somewhere, from another culture, if it's going to be an intercultural dynamic the way that Balky and Larry have. They're not in Chicago. They're in Brooklyn. I like that they're above it.
What's trap
This
yoga?
is interesting that they mentioned one detail, trap yoga.
That's very
and they live
specific.
above it. So are they gonna be working in the trap yoga studio? That's another question I had.
What's trap yoga, though?
Oh, trap yoga. We have it here in DC.
Oh,
I've done
it's
it.
a new
It's yoga
thing?
to trap music, and usually the studio is like dark with neon lights, which is kind of
Gotcha.
problematic because you can't really see
What the person is
instructor
doing? Yes.
doing.
I don't know
It's too
what
dark
that
for me.
move is. I can't see you.
But it's fun. It's a fun way to do yoga.
It's such a hipster Fort Greene, Brooklyn thing. Yoga to
Yeah.
trap music.
Trap yoga.
So yeah.
like interesting that was the detail they put in there. They're half sisters, not cousins, but I want to know, like, you know, the premise of this show rests on the fact that it's intercultural and they're discovering,
Right. So first of all, if you've seen the United States of Al, it's an all right
yes,
show, but
I'm watching United States of Al.
and that's a little more Perfect Strangers reboot than this. So my first question was, what is Perfect Strangers about this? I just read the next paragraph. I didn't know this. Robin Thede will write the script and exec produce the comedy alongside Robert Boyette. The Boyette. So one of the original producers is working with Robin Thede. Now, Robin Thede, she does Black Lady Sketch Show, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's hilarious. Like, she's pretty funny. That show is pretty good. I don't know who this other girl is.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be good. It has potential.
But is it a thing where they wanted a show and the only way they could do it is by attaching the Perfect Strangers reboot thing? Like, why can't you just make your own show and not
your own
make it
buddy comedy with two women?
How is this Perfect Strangers?
How is it going to be Perfect Strangers? Yeah, so that's what I kind of like the questions that I have.
I kind of don't want them to do this. I don't want them to burn the reboot idea because we had ideas that were great.
We had an idea a long time ago. Listeners, my brother and I came up with an idea.
A fantastic
long
idea.
Time ago.
I don't even know if we should reveal it. Somebody's going to steal it.
Okay.
Or
so
no, you can say it. Let's say it.
It's already kind of been done in other shows.
Yeah.
So our idea was to, this is like way before we started this podcast, way before.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a reboot of Perfect Strangers with two brown women, brown as in South Asian. I know you can't tell it from my voice, but I am a person of South Asian heritage. We are Pakistanis, two brown women, the American being someone like me in her 30s or 40s, born and raised in America, as yet unmarried to the dismay of the parents. And then the cousin would be someone from Pakistan, a woman, a female cousin from Pakistan who comes over and for some reason has to be roommates with the American cousin. And hilarity ensues. And so it would be a little bit of a twist because it's America. And also, Imran and I were born and raised in Chicago. So our show would have been set in Chicago.
And that is more faithful Perfect Strangers reboot idea than I don't know what this is going to be. This should have
kind of like Mindy Kaling's latest show on Netflix.
What's that called?
Never Have I Ever.
Yeah.
Wasn't like a buddy comedy, but it did have a cousin from India character living with the family.
But also,
like
let's give them the consolation that the premise itself is Odd Couple. It's Morgan Mindy. It's not original. It's been done. But if you're going
Laverne and Shirley,
But if you're going Perfect Strangers reboot with a Boyette producing, it needs to have some kind of connection.
And I'm sure there will be, especially with Boyette producing. So I'm super excited. Does this article mention a timeline or a release?
No. This is very early. If they're just announcing this now, it's going to take a while. But it's also interesting that it's on HBO Max. Will it be edgy? Will they swear? Is it going to be half hour?
Yeah, that's right.
Is it going to be multi-camera? Is it going to be single cam? Oh, no, it is going to be multi-camera, it says.
Yeah.
Oh, so they may have a live audience, so that'll give it a little throwback feel. So I don't know. That was crazy when this came out. And I think a lot of our listeners, and I noticed when I posted it, they did not want this to happen. So a lot of people are like,
and
nope.
I've seen some other discussion online in other groups where people are really poo-pooing on this idea and not expecting much. But I think it could be good.
I don't think you bring back Bronson Pinchot and Marklin Baker.
No.
I think that's something you don't
Maybe
need to
a reunion show or something.
Well, I mean, the Friends reunion was great. I would love to see a reunion show. I don't know if there's as much interest in this reunion as the Friends reunion show.
Yeah.
But the first, hints of a reboot. So I thought that was interesting news to break.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's exciting news. We're looking forward to it. If you are still with us, join us again next week. Next week is perhaps one of our favorite episodes of the entire series.
We are starting to get into some classic, iconic episodes that are repeatably funny and that stuff I remembered from a kid vividly. Next week, when the cousins learn martial arts, is one of these episodes. I cannot wait.
Yes. Super, super funny episode. Listeners, get in touch. We want to hear from you. Thank you, first of all, we have a handful of very devoted listeners who are in touch all the time, and we love it. Please keep sending us your comments and your discussion on the group. You can find us on danceofjoypod.com. There you can find all of the links to where the podcast is available, and you can also find all of our social media links there. You can leave us a voice message right from that website or send us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. But what is the most important thing for them, Imran?
You gotta press record. Oh, no, that's for us. For them is, you can also leave a review right on the website there, not an Apple Podcast. And then your review listener will pop up at the bottom in the little scroll. There's an area where we can highlight reviews. It's very cool. But the most important thing is to share the show
share it with a friend.
All the people who love Serge from Beverly Hills Cop. Or maybe you have people who watch True Romance and they want to know more about that character. Turn them on to this show. And we will be cousins for life. Thank you for listening to Dance of Joy. And now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.